You don't speak Spanish or no hablas inglés? No problem. We have included subtitles for English, Spanish, Portuguese and French.
Of course, I had other boyfriends before. I was kind of fascinated by him. Yeah, because he had charisma and he wore an orange dress from India. So I thought, what kind of guy is that? And for 6 years, I tried to manage somehow this relationship and then I gave up. And then I met another guy who was also very difficult. And I said, okay, now I really want to stay true to myself. I don't want to betray myself. I think that every person has kind of divine center or something like a diamond, but sometimes there's a lot of shit around the diamond.
Hello Sonja, welcome to Getting to Know Humanity. So we're going to start with a lightning round, which will be 8 quick questions so that viewers get to know you really quick. Introvert or extrovert?
Extrovert.
Sex or chocolate?
Both.
Cat or dog?
Cat.
Big city or small town life?
Big city.
Friends with benefits or stable relationship?
Stable relationship.
Hawaii or Alaska?
Hawaii. Aloha.
Backpacking or hotel?
Backpacking.
And the last one, living forever or being able to teleport yourself?
Living forever.
Can you please introduce yourself really quick for the viewers who don't know you? What's your name? Like, what are you working currently?
Okay. Yeah, so my name is Sonja. I live in Vienna. I'm 55 years old. I'm self-employed as a Lomi Lomi practitioner and also as a hula dancer and hula teacher. And I also teach a little bit of Italian. I have 2 adult sons. They are 33 and 31 years old. Their father is Italian, so they are half Italian and they're very handsome boys.
You told me about a lot of different love stories or almost love stories. So maybe you can start with the one with your 2 sons.
Okay, so when I was a young student, I used to travel to Italy, of course, because I studied Italian and I love Italy. And there I met the future father of my 2 sons, who was a street musician, actually a busker. So he played music on the street, saxophone and flute, and I was kind of fascinated by him. Yeah, because he had charisma and he wore an orange dress from India. So I thought, what kind of guy is that? Yeah, so a little bit like, yeah, a spiritual person, but also very artistic. And he was 16 years older than me, and yes, I was very attracted to him.
How old were you at the time?
I was 21 and he was 37, and when I got my first child I was 22. Yeah, he was 38, so, and 55 now, so my son is 33, the elder one, and the young one is 31 at the moment.
Can you tell the story about, like, with the father? Can you describe his personality?
Okay, yeah, it's a little bit difficult. I mean, his character was difficult because he was an artist, and obviously artists are a little bit egocentric people, let's keep it like this. And for 6 years I tried to manage somehow this relationship and then I gave up. So the kids were 3 and 5 and I decided that it would be better to stay alone and live in Vienna than to try to keep this story going, because it hurt me too much and too many times, and yeah, that's the story. And he died 2 years ago.
Can you tell a couple of extraordinary stories that happened?
I can tell you one extraordinary story which happened to me. So I'm a little bit addicted to Hawaii. This is why I do Hawaiian massage and hula dance. And so in 2010 I went to Hawaii for the first time for a whole month in July. And at the end of this vacation I met a guy who was exactly the same age than the father of my kids. So he was from the same year, from 1950. And somehow he managed getting me closer to him, which I first refused because it was kind of awkward, strange, old man, a little bit of messy house and dirty animals and things like that. But anyway, then I thought, oh, maybe he could be my ticket to Hawaii. And then I went back there half a year later or 5 months later, just to be sure if this story can work out or not, and I realized it could not work out, so I went away after 2. I mean, the vacation was for 2.5 weeks and it was clear already from the beginning that this story wouldn't work out.
Why was it clear that it wouldn't work out?
Yeah, because he had the same strange and difficult personality as the father of my kids, and he was an old Jewish hippie. Yeah, and he was very egocentric as well. Difficult story as well. So I had too many difficult stories, and I don't want difficult stories anymore. And yeah, actually I'm in love now with a guy who's very cute and nice, but he's not sure whether he wants to have a relationship or not. So,
Like this was your first boyfriend, right? Or did you have other boyfriends before him? Or?
of course I had other boyfriends before. My very first partner in erotic things was an Italian guy whom I met at my aunt's house in South Italy, because my father's sister married an Italian guy, and this is how I came in touch with Italy and the Italian language. And when I was 16, I went there alone for the first time, and I got to know deeper the culture and the people. And I had one boyfriend with whom I went to the Stopfenreiter Au. It was an environmental movement. It was my first year at university in 1984. And so I went there as a young student, and we spent the winter time there. It was one of the coldest winter. And so we slept in these kind of earth holes or tents, something like that. So this was my first real boyfriend with whom I stayed together for almost 2 years.
Mm-hmm. What are the characteristics of men that you like, and what are the characteristics of men which you don't like?
Generally, I like every person. Yeah, generally I'm very accepting. Maybe this sometimes doesn't do good to myself, but I think that every person has kind of divine center or something, like a diamond, but sometimes there's a lot of shit around the diamond. And yeah, I think that every person has his or her reasons why she or he is like she or he is. And everybody is lovable, and everybody is worth of being loved. And so this corresponds also to my work, my Lomi Lomi massage, because it's just a massage where I touch people with a lot of oil, and I touch them with a lot of respect, but also dedication.
And if you're looking for a relationship with a man, what would be the characteristics which would be difficult for you, or which would make it easier?
So egoism is what I have learned that is not good for me. A good characteristic for me is someone who is sensitive, is able to show love, which my experience in the past, say 40 years, was that many men are not able to show their love or their dedication. Yeah, and this is what I personally need. So I'm Cancer, I'm romantic, and I need tenderness and understanding, and I need conversation on a deep level, and talking about things which are good, talking about things which are not so good, and trying to find solutions for the issues which are challenging.
You told me that you've been vegetarian. Like, would this be a condition that you would have for a new partner?
Yes, I tried differently. My last boyfriend before the one which I approach now, he was a meat eater. And being vegetarian and having the sensibility and the knowledge of why we should not eat meat at all, because it ruins our planet, and because of ethical questions also, for me is so important that I tried to be with a person who was not a vegetarian, but then I realized that it's really a condition for me. Yeah.
How would you say dating has changed over the last decades?
Yeah, definitely it has changed. It has changed a lot. I met my first boyfriend in Schnellbahn, which is in the train. We lived both a little bit outside of Vienna, and so I met him in the train, and we always took the same morning train to get to. I went to school, and I don't know where he went to, because he was 8 years older than me. But yeah, and then of course I meet people dancing and going to different kinds of events. And I still get to know a lot of people going to different events. But when it comes up to relationships, I switched to online platforms, which is rather effective.
What kind of platforms do you use?
Well, I was on Parship, and I also tried Gleichklang, which is more for spiritual people, for people who are vegetarians and so on and so on. But it's not really known in Austria, so I only met ex-boyfriends there. And there's another one which is called Zweisam now, which is especially for people aged a little bit over 50, say 50 plus.
Sorry, but you haven't like tried out Tinder or something like that?
Tinder is a little bit too deep leveled.
All right.
I mean, I tried it also because a friend of mine found her actual boyfriend on Tinder and then said, okay, let's give it a chance, but nope.
How did you arrange meetings before you had smartphones or cell phones in general? Even?
Or telephones.
Oh, telephones? No, telephones.
We had drums. Kidding. No, of course, when I was a teenager, there were no cell phones, there was no internet. And we, with friends, we arranged meetings by telephone, and we had that kind of telephones where you had to turn a wheel. Yeah, it was not with numbers, you had to turn a wheel. And I even recall that the telephone which I had at home with my parents, it was not a full, how to say that, it was not a full telephone, it was a quarter. So when the neighbors were telephoning, we couldn't telephone because it was occupied. So yeah, we had just a quarter. When the neighbors which shared the line somehow, yeah, were on the phone, we couldn't reach phones or do phone calls. Oh. But yeah, of course, we spoke on the phone and we thought, yeah, let's meet then and then. But to get to know people, yeah, it was so totally different without the internet and without apps and smartphones and yeah. And I feel like a real grandmother now when I talk about this. Effectively, I am a grandmother, but I feel like a real grandmother.
Would you say it became easier finding like a real relationship having those apps, or did it become more difficult, or did it stay the same?
I think it's quite different. I think that people are nowadays with these apps and platforms, they are more like superficial. Don't like, don't like you just swipe and say okay, and if this is not good, there are so many other people.
Do you have any advice what you can do against this, or what are you doing against this?
I try to go deeper. I try to have deep conversations before I met someone, to write, but on the other hand, sometimes I meet people, or I met in the past, yeah, rather soon, because if you see someone, you can feel them somehow better, and it's different, yeah. I also made the experience in the past, but this is also like maybe 15 years ago or so, that you write to someone or you have a deep conversation, writing conversation, and then maybe you are already on the edge of falling in love with someone because you have the impression of getting to know her, of knowing her or him already so very well, and then you meet this person and then you are deluded because he or she is just different from what you expected, because yeah, writing is something and seeing people face to face and feeling their energy is just different.
Can you tell a bit more about your passion for Hawaii and the massages that you're giving?
Yeah, there were 3 things which led me to get to know Lomi. So one was a former neighbor of mine who learned this kind of massage, and he asked me to be his model because he wanted to train on me. And I said, oh, massage, always, yes, thank you. And it was very great. Yeah, that was my first Lomi Lomi Nui, and I just enjoyed it a lot. And then a former Tai Chi teacher of mine made an email, a mailing in which he offered to do Lomi Lomi massage, and I thought, oh, I know that, that's what my neighbor gave to me, and it's really cool. And then my boyfriend of that time came up with the word Lomi Lomi Nui, and I said, okay, let's do the education. And then I started doing this in 2007. I always loved touching people. I did baby massage to my kids when they were very, very small. Mostly to my elder one, because the young one was too, he wouldn't stay quiet, he would move all the time. But the elder one enjoyed that. And yeah, I love touching people on all levels, on a physical level, on a spiritual level, on a mental level. So this is my passion, one of my passions. And through Lomi Lomi, and I did it for many years just as a secondary job. And in 2020, beginning of 2020, I started doing only Lomi Lomi. So I self-employed, and I quit my other job, which I never liked, the last one at least. And yeah, and then through Lomi Lomi I came in touch with hula, because I had my first hula workshop in 2008, in April 2008, and there were not so many hula teachers in that time in Vienna or in Europe in general, but now there's a quite big, say, movement, hula movement, and we are connected also with our hula sisters in Slovakia and Hungary and Italy and Germany and Switzerland and everywhere, so we're all a big hula community. And yeah, and I started dancing hula in 2008 and started teaching in 2011, and this is what I still do. And I also tried to learn Hawaiian. Before I went to Hawaii for the first time in 2010, I tried to learn the language a little bit, but when I was there I found out that almost nobody speaks Hawaiian. I met one guy from Germany who studied at university in Honolulu, and he is more or less the only person whom I met in Hawaii who speaks fluently. And yeah, I'm still in touch with him. When I need help with a translation, then I ask him. Lorenz. Hi, Lorenz. Yeah, and I love the Hawaiian way of thinking. I love their philosophy, or the ancient Hawaii, before Americans arrived and changed everything and thought this is our land. And yeah, so I studied a lot the history and philosophy and the way of thinking which the ancient or the old Hawaiians had.
What have you learned from all the different love stories of your life so far, and what can you recommend?
I have maybe learned that I should be more true to myself, which I promised myself in 2012, on 21st December of 2012. And then I met another guy who was also very difficult. And I said, okay, now I really want to stay true to myself. I don't want to betray myself and do things which I don't like to do. This is my recommendation: stay true to yourself. And this is what I try to do.
What is one book that you can recommend?
There are so many books. I have like 1 meter of Hawaiian books.
What's one book that first pops up into your mind that you can recommend?
At the moment I have one book beside my bed, and it's called Nackt schlafen ist Bio, which means to sleep naked is kind of ecologic. And it's that's rather funny. It's a funny book. American writer.
Mm-hmm. All right. Mm-hmm. And the last question, what do you think all humans have in common?
The divine center and the wish of doing good and the wish of developing.
All right. Thank you very much, Sonja, for the interview.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Hope to see you soon again.
Yeah, okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye, thanks.
Thank you very much for watching this video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more videos like that, please subscribe to the channel by clicking on the logo.